Right now, the defending national championship head coach, Kirby Smart.
Kirby Smart. Coach, welcome back to the SEC championship game. Would you mind making some opening statements before we take questions?
Start with the tremendous job that our conference does. They are really incredible at preparing for this event. It's one of the best games to play in since I've been a coach. It's a great environment, and I think they do a tremendous job. Proud of our team, what they've done to get to this point and get an opportunity to play in this game. It means you've won your division, and that's one of the toughest things to do in the SEC. A lot of respect for Brian Kelly and the LSU program. What a tremendous job he's done in his first year there, and we're looking forward to the opportunity to play in Atlanta.
Members of the media, please utilize the raise hand function on the bottom of your screen for questions. And we'll begin with Anthony Dasher of UGAsports.com.
Recording in progress.
Anthony, go ahead. Anthony, if you could unmute your line and ask your question. All right, let's try Scott Rabelais with the Baton Rouge Advocate.
Hey, Kirby, y'all can hear me right here?
Yes.
Okay. Just wanted your thoughts to think back when you were a young assistant at LSU, and we're looking at your and we're thinking back to when at that time, did you have any thoughts of being a coach in this position, or coaching a national championship program? What did you aspire to back then? I guess is not the
Survive the day back then. That was quite some time ago, and was my first full-time SEC job, I guess. I'd come off being a graduate assistant at Florida State, and I'd been a full-time assistant at Valdosta State previous to that. But it was my first time coaching in the SEC. It was a really competitive environment, and it was the year following their national championship there in 2003. So a lot of, tough times and getting acclimated, and a lot of expectations after winning a national championship. And we had a lot of good players coming back on that team. I think most of the defensive players were back off that national championship team. So it was an exciting year. I learned a lot of football that season. But as far as aspiring to where I am now, there was not really thinking about that then.
Next, we'll go to Zach Klein.
Hey, Kirby. Last time we talked to you, you were just starting your preparation and taking a look at LSU on Sunday, Monday. Just 3-4 days later, just anything else kind of stand out when you've had additional days to take a look and break down their film?
Yeah, they got a lot of talent, a lot of really fast, athletic players. When you look across the skill level of both sides of the ball for them, they got great size and great speed. They got one of the most physical offensive lines we've played. They're really, really talented in the red area defensive area and red area offense, which we worked on hard yesterday, and then third down as well. They're really they do a great job offensively on third down because they don't get in very many third and long situations.
All right, we'll go back and try Anthony Dasher with UGA Sports again.
There we go, Coach. Can you hear me okay now?
Yes.
All right, good. You've talked a lot over the years about the importance of having player-led teams. I was just wondering how that aspect has proven to be this year, and what are the biggest impacts having player-led teams can have on a program?
Well, any good team is going to be player led. I mean, I don't know a good team that's not player led. There's probably some bad teams that wish they had better leaders as players. But the good teams I've been able to be a part of, they're all player led, and that's the way a coach should want it. Because if you do your job, the players follow the directive to lead the other guys, and this team's done that. I mean, they've tried to emulate and kind of mimic the group that did it last year, and they saw those guys do it, and they set a standard for them doing it, and they've tried to emulate that. So I think this team's done a good job of being player led, and they got to continue to do so.
Next, we'll go to Michael Lerzo with the Union Recorder.
Hey, Coach. Congrats on getting to this point. How big would it be to essentially have home field advantage if you guys end up making the playoffs in Atlanta for that first round? And does that add any to the motivation of winning on Saturday?
Not really. There's no thought about the next step. There's such a long break between this step and next step. This is the culmination of the season, and it's the next opportunity. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Next will be Dennis Dodd of CBS Sports.
Kirby, what science is there to keeping your defensive linemen fresh? Obviously, they can't play every down, but they're so impactful. I think of Jalen's play against Tennessee where he forced the fumble, and that was a big turnover at the time in the end zone. What goes into that to keep those guys, fresh or not wearing out?
Well, is the number one thing. It helps to have depth where you can play multiple players and not have a large drop-off. But I don't think anybody in the country would tell you they have enough defensive linemen. It's a rotational position. It requires extreme effort and strain. We sell conditioning all year. We condition multiple times a week, and we tell our kids if you want to be a really good football team, you got to be best conditioned. And best conditioned is not a word; it's a requirement and a strain that you have to put into practice. And we just hope that we've conditioned enough to be at our best in moments like this Saturday.
Reminder for questions, please utilize the raise hand function, and we will continue with Jake Rowe.
Hey, Kirby, I wanted to ask, what's A.B. Mitchell been able to do this week, and what do you think his status would be for Saturday?
Very similar to recent weeks. He's been able to do some practice stuff. He's been able to go out there and rep, and the hopes are that he's able to contribute.
Next, we'll go to Michael Scarborough.
Coach Smart, what is your thoughts on looking at freshman linebacker Harold Perkins for LSU after you've watched him on film?
Extremely athletic, very twitchy. We've had a crossover with them on several teams we've played this year, whether that be Tennessee, Mississippi State, Florida, a couple others, Auburn, I think. And he's just extremely athletic, and I think they do a tremendous job utilizing his skill set, whether it's an edge rusher, interior rusher, spy, zone coverage guy, man-to-man guy. He's a force to be reckoned with. He's very talented.
For additional questions for Coach Smart, please use the raise hand function on the bottom of your screen. Next, we have Mike Griffith of AJC Dog Nation.
Can you guys hear me all right? Yeah.
Hey, Mike, go ahead.
Okay. Kirby, I just wanted to ask you, we're starting to see all sorts of names pop up, announcing who's going in the portal, who's not. I mean, is there a protocol that your program has established as far as, when guys will announce, or have you already heard from players? Do you have a pretty good idea? I kind of wonder about that sort of new housekeeping item that coaches now have to manage as, part of this new roster management.
Yeah, we're really focused on LSU, Mike, to be honest with you. And that's where our concentration is, and we'll deal with that when the time comes.
Next, we have Chip Towers of the AJC.
Yeah, Coach, obviously this is a tough game. What makes this such a tough game to win?
Your team in the one of the best conferences, the team that won the most games or won their division on the other side. It's a matchup of the two what usually is the two best teams in the SEC, which is a really competitive conference. So it's a championship game. It's a lot of talent on both sides of the ball, and it's an opportunity to win the conference that has represented so much in college football in recent years.
We'll go back to a follow-up from Dennis Dodd.
Following up on that, Kirby, if the SEC one day goes to one division like a lot of conferences are doing to match their two best teams, will that make much of a difference in the SEC? You already talked about how tough it is in this game.
I don't understand the question. Will it make a difference? How?
Competitively, the fact that an 8-4 team could upset an undefeated team could take away from postseason opportunity. If you have the two best, that only enhances a conference's ability to get two in.
Yeah, it sounds like you answered it. I mean, I'm not following what you're asking. My opinion of it. I think the two best have usually ended up in this game. I think if you take divisions out, you're going to get obviously the two best, maybe the two best. I mean, one team could have had a harder schedule than the other because the schedule is hard to balance. But because some of these conferences, everybody plays everybody. I don't think you're looking at that ever happening in the SEC. So it's a hypothetical to assume that you're going to get the two best. You're going to get the closest to the two best records based on that with tiebreakers. But with the expansion looming, it's. I don't think that this game is going to be a make or break, get you in or out. In most cases, it's probably going to be a situation to maybe move up or something.
If there are any additional questions, please use the raise hand function. We have another from Mike Griffith.
Kirby, there's obviously news today about the expanded playoffs in 2024, last night really, in 2024. And I guess as the seasons have continued to be expanded recently, how is that, or does that play into, how many snaps you play, guys? I mean, is there any saving players? Is there any conscious effort to try to keep guys fresh going into late November, early December, or is the league just too competitive where, you've got to keep your guys out there for, indeterminate snaps?
Yeah, I think you're way overthinking it. I mean, the objective is to win your football games, and I don't know many teams that are I just don't, in our conference, you don't go into the game and say, okay, can I play this guy 20 snaps and not 60 snaps? I mean, you're practicing every day out of their practice, and you're practicing 30, 40, 50 snaps. A lot of our guys may play more snaps in a practice than they do in a game, and they're going against pretty good competition in practice. So I don't look at the games as I'm trying to not play my guys. I think they earned the right to play the game, and they want an opportunity to go out and play the game, and you're trying to win each and every opportunity, and that means putting the best players out there.
Kirby, I guess with the transfer portal, heating up, I guess next week, have you guys identified as a staff, need for this cycle in terms of positions where you might want to show up?
Yeah, that's not really a conversation piece for us right now. I mean, we have a process in our organization. We have different divisions. Everybody has a timeline for what they're working on. We have, recruiting staff that works recruiting year round. We got player development staff. We've got, all these facets within our organization that they're working on their parts year round. And the most important part right now is our coaching staff and our team preparing for LSU, and that's really where our focus is.
Next, we'll go to Connor Riley of Dog Nation.
Yeah, Kirby, this is the third time you've matched up with Brian Kelly in that 2017 win and the 2019 home win. How important were those wins for your program and sort of building into what has become today?
Well, I think they were great matches. They were national exposure game. Anytime you're playing Notre Dame, it's not about just Brian Kelly, just about Notre Dame's name across the country. Certainly helps you maybe recruit across the country and become a national brand and play on a national stage. And that's what Notre Dame gave us an opportunity to do. They were both really hard-fought, physical football games in both cases, and got a lot of respect for Notre Dame's program. And I thought it was great for college football to have, Notre Dame and Georgia matched up in those two games.
If there are any other questions for Coach, please use the raise hand function on the bottom of your screen. We have another from Chip Towers of the AJC.
Coach, several years ago, I think under Mark Richt, they talked about knocking the lid off the program, how that's an important function to be able to achieve higher. Do you feel like you've been able to knock the lid off this program, obviously reaching the highest pinnacle last year? Does that have any lasting effect?
Yeah, I don't know, Jib. I don't really understand. I mean, I'm not into lids on programs. I'm into doing the best job we can for our young men each and every year, and starting that over when you get a chance to start over and try to do it again. I think that would be a subjective question that each person, each fan, each guy with an opinion might see a different way. I'm into doing the best we can for our guys each and every year.
Next, we'll go to Meadow Barrow of the Red and Black.
Coach, what mindset do you want your players to have going into this game? And what are some of the things that you've said to them this week in order to prepare them for this weekend?
That preparation is the key to any game, and that this is no different than our other SEC games we've had in terms of the differences. We're playing at a neutral site. It's an opportunity to go out there and play, and nobody else is going to be playing in our conference but us. So all your peers get to watch this game. It's one of the most watched games of any football season. And we've talked long and hard about being at our best when our best is needed. Those critical situations in games that decide games, they'll decide this game no different, whether that's turnovers, explosives, red area, or third downs.
Next, we'll go to Wilson Alexander.
Hey, Kirby, when you're looking at this LSU team, there's a lot of transfers on this team that it's a big piece of the reason that they're here. When you're scouting them over this week, how much are those transfers standing out? Obviously, you might not have looked at LSU much on film last year, but how much are those guys sort of showing up when you're looking at the film?
Yeah, a lot. When their staff got hired and got put in place, I would, it's hard to compare that against other programs across the board in the SEC, but I would argue they did the best job of filling holes and creating roster opportunities for guys coming in. And, you start with the quarterback. I mean, the quarterback's played phenomenal for them, and he's a tremendous athlete, and he's been a tremendous asset for them. But they also filled some really big holes on defense with transfers. They hit on the right guys, and probably if they don't do as good a job, I mean, it's hard to say where they would be right now, but they put together some really good defensive players as well as quarterback.
We'll go to Palmer Thombs, Dolphins next shoot.
Yeah, Kirby, Georgia and LSU have matched up 5 times in the SEC championship, second most of anybody. What is it about these two programs that they've been able to sustain success over the course of several different coaches?
Yeah, it's the geographic areas. So they both have great high school football in and around their universities. The proximity to good players is they've got New Orleans right down the road. We've got Atlanta. Per capita, when you look across the NFL, the state of Georgia and state of Louisiana are always near the top. So that has a lot to do with the success of the programs.
Next will be Jordan Hill.
Kirby, you were asked earlier about the playoff expansion. Just what are your general thoughts on that coming up and what it'll mean for the sport?
I'm not real sure. I think it's only time will tell. I read and see a lot of opinions out there of diminishing regular seasons and length of schedule, length of games and number of games. But I don't think we'll truly know. Just like when we went to the 4-game model, there were a lot of questions involved there too. So it's not something that I've got a huge opinion on right now, especially right now because we're focused on. But in the off season, I think I'll think about it a lot more.
We have time for one more question. I think we'll go to Anthony Dasher for a follow-up.
Yeah, Coach. As far as at y'all's indoor place, how does the turf there compare to the new turf they put down at the Bends, and how have you guys divided up outside indoor practicing this week?
It's very similar. There's a little bit newer model of it there at the Mercedes, but very similar to ours. And we've practiced. We've had some weather, so we've been inside and out each day, but mostly inside.
Coach Smart, thank you very much for your time today. Good luck, and we'll see you in Atlanta on Friday.